What's up, people? In this video, I'm going to show you my new motorcycle and how to increase its value with an extreme cleaning and restore some parts without hardly investing any money. And don't miss the video, because at the end I'm going to show you the amazing project we're going to do with this motorcycle, and I also have a surprise for you. Aesthetically, this is the ugliest CB500X of all the models available, but later, I will show you how we are going to fix that. I got this motorcycle very cheaply because it was in poor aesthetic condition, which is something that puts anyone off when it comes to buying it. Not everyone dares to take on a motorcycle that needs a lot of work. As you can see, the motorcycle was extremely dirty from not being washed for a long time, and on top of that, it was in a coastal area, which made the plastics very worn. Additionally, they were applying chain grease excessively, and the motorcycle was covered in a lot of grease. All the aluminum parts were also very stained, and considering the mileage the motorcycle had, it really showed a lot of wear. For example, the windshield was cracked and had turned yellow from exposure. There was rust on the mirror parts, and in general, all the plastics of the motorcycle were very worn out. As you can see, the paint also shows a lot of wear and is scratched in many places, and even the grips were disgusting from never being cleaned and having a lot of dirt from hands. It also had some rusted parts on the lower part of the motorcycle, and since it has so many kilometers and is in a coastal area, it's something normal. Cleaning the exterior of the motorcycle is not a mystery, it's like cleaning the car's engine and exterior at the same time, because we have parts of the engine and bodywork together. The only difference we have with the motorcycle is that we need to lubricate the chain once we have it clean. Other than that, everything will be exactly the same. Before we start cleaning anything with pressure water, the first thing we are going to do is disassemble some parts of the motorcycle to review them while they are taken apart. For example, the windshield, which as you can see is quite yellow, and we are going to try to restore it a bit, although ideally it would be best to replace it. And we are also going to remove some panels from the motorcycle to make the cleaning a bit more thorough and to get rid of all the dirt that may be behind these plastics. We are also going to remove the mirrors, which have quite a bit of rust, and the plastic is worn out, to review the disassembled parts. Additionally, we will take off all the plastics underneath the engine, which are also quite dirty due to chain grease and being in the lowest part of the motorcycle. This way we can clean and thoroughly review the entire lower part of the engine. We also removed the cover of the drive sprocket to expose all these interesting areas and to remove the excess grease. We also removed the seat of the motorcycle to clean this part here. And we took out the battery to avoid any issues when we use high-pressure water, ensuring that there are no short circuits. The motorcycle is designed to be able to get wet, but since it only takes a second to remove it, we took it out. For the intake area, we need to cover the opening. I use a glove and a zip tie for this, which helps prevent water from getting into the intake when we spray with high-pressure water. Naturally, if we have the tool documentation under the motorcycle seat, we take it out to keep it dry. Once we have disassembled everything we deemed necessary for a deeper cleaning, we take the degreaser prepared at 50% and start spraying it on all the areas that have grease and are dirty, which is practically everywhere. As I mentioned before, the motorcycle is designed to get wet and we don't have to worry about the cables. In any case, when the motorcycle is clean, we will dry everything thoroughly with compressed air to ensure that no moisture remains anywhere before starting the motorcycle. As you have seen, to clean the motorcycle, I have placed it on the stand and on the rear wheel, which is the dirtiest part, as it is important to ensure that the degreaser is applied thoroughly everywhere to remove the dirt, since it was full of brake pad dust and chain grease. Just like in a car when we touch the dirty steering wheel and handbrake and it gets covered in grime, the same happens on the motorcycle with the grips. So here we also apply degreaser to remove all the dirt, and we avoid touching the grime that has stuck to it from someone else. As we always do, we let the degreaser work well to loosen the dirt, and once we have let it sit for a while, we take the pressure washer and start removing all the grime that the degreaser has loosened. Once we have done the first pass, we apply the degreaser again, and in those areas where the dirt is a bit more embedded, we will take a brush and scrub away all the dirt. For example, the wheels, which were quite stuck, had a sort of small texture that made the dirt stick more firmly to them, as well as in the area of the chain grease and on the engine part. Once we have practically removed all the dirt from the motorcycle, we will take the shampoo that we will spray with the foam sprayer and spray the entire motorcycle. And with a brush and a scrubber, we are going to detail all the areas of the plastics and the engine parts to perform a slightly deeper cleaning. As you can see, just with the cleaning, the color of the motorcycle has completely changed, and I think it was something that the motorcycle really needed because it was in a super filthy state. Once we have it completely scrubbed, we take compressed air and start drying all the parts of the engine, such as connectors and areas where water might get trapped. We also clean the entire button panel and the parts of the handlebars. And we can dry the rest of the motorcycle with a cloth or a fiber towel. Now that we have the motorcycle completely dry, we can start restoring other parts such as the plastics, which, as you saw at the beginning of the video, were really worn out. To restore the color of this area, we are going to use the heat gun. In my opinion, the best option for these plastics would be to paint them or replace them, but I don't want to get some of them stained with paint because when I do the transformation of the motorcycle, we will do something with them, and if they are painted, I will have to clean that paint off, which would be double the work. Although they may not turn out 100% perfect with the heat, at least we restore their color, and they will look better than the faded plastics. In my opinion, the results with the heat gun are not satisfactory because small spots appear every time the plastic cools down, and I don't know if it's due to the type of material the plastic is made of or if it's because they are overheated. The plastic that the muffler had at the end was very difficult for me to restore, and I imagine that this plastic is special for high temperatures and it didn't quite hold up well. So since this was very easy to remove and it was a small piece, I did take it apart, sanded it a bit, and sprayed it with black heat-resistant paint, at least to restore it and make this part look good. The plastic on the right side was the worst. I think it was due to the habit of parking the motorcycle in the same spot, which is where it got the most sun. As you can see, this plastic shows a significant color change, and when we used the heat gun, it had some small dots and deformations. The plastic was so worn that it looked really bad, but as I said, I don't want to paint it because we're going to do something really cool with this whole area here, so it's going to stay like this. To avoid complicating things with the part where the headlight is, we will directly use dashboard cleaner, as it will also restore the tone and will turn black. It's also much faster. As I said, it's just a facelift. I don't want to complicate things because the motorcycle is going to be completely disassembled and we're going to change a lot of things. That's great. I'll give you a bit of information as we go through the video, so hopefully by the time we reach the end, you'll know what we're going to do with it. The next part we are going to restore from the motorcycle is the collectors, which were quite golden from heat exposure and had a lot of rust. To clean it, we are going to take a sanding sponge and a bit of soapy water, and we will sand it completely until we remove all the rust and restore its color. In this area, we are only going to clean the visible part of the collector since sanding the entire catalytic converter would be a hassle, and since it will be covered, it won't be noticeable, so we won't complicate things. Well, regarding the sandpaper, we will need to start with a coarser sandpaper to remove all the rough spots and gradually refine the sandpaper until we finish with polishing to restore the shine to the collector so that they look new. For the muffler, we will also give it a bit of sanding and polishing, and we will clean the area behind this aging component as well. Here, we won't complicate things with polishing, we will just take the sanding sponge and clean up a bit of all the rust and the golden part, and that's it. And with the muffler showing its metallic color, its original color, that's enough. Once we have this part done, we take the muffler, sand it with a 3000 grit sandpaper for example to remove some scratches. And finally, we apply a bit of polish to give it shine, and that's it. With this, the exhaust looks much more decent. For the trim, since it is made of the same material as the exhaust, we do the same. We sand it, polish it, and then we can install it on the bike. And we also installed the rear final part that we painted with heat-resistant paint, and we will have the exhaust area finished. The area of the aluminum foot pegs was quite stained, and it wasn't coming off easily. So to clean it, we take the same sandpaper we used for sanding the exhaust and some soapy water, and we sand it without hesitation. This will not get scratched or damaged, but we will remove the dirt. The color of the aluminum will change and it will look newer. We take all the plastics that cover the engine and the chain, place them in a container with water, add a bit of degreaser, and forget about them for a few hours to allow all the dirt to soften properly. While we have the parts submerged in the degreaser, we will attach all the screws that hold these parts, which are quite dirty, to the drill and clean them with a sanding sponge. This may seem silly, but I don't know, these details of having the screws so shiny. I don't know, they are details that I at least really like to see like this. Once we have the plastics clean, we can reassemble them on the bike, and as you can see they are a bit faded, but I don't want to complicate things with them either, so we are going to take the dashboard restorer and give them all a quick pass to restore their color, and that's it. Once we have applied the anti-rust primer, we will let it dry for about 10 minutes or so, and then we will use a fiber disc to remove the excess product and spread it evenly, leaving the plastics looking like new. On the shift lever, around the horn area, there was quite a bit of rust. Ideally, this part should be sanded well and painted with an anti-rust primer. But let's do something quick that also works, which is to apply a rust converter. To apply this, it's as easy as using a brush or a sponge, spreading it over the rusty area and letting it dry for a couple of hours. We will need to repeat this process at least 3 times, and when it starts to take effect, the rust will be converted into healthy metal and will turn black. This is a quick solution that works very well, and it will prevent these parts from continuing to rust. Since they turn black, they will remain inconspicuous. Cleaning the seat of the bike is quite simple. We just need to apply a bit of degreaser, which can be at 10%. Since the seat has a slight texture in the fabric, we take a brush and start to thoroughly remove all the dirt. Then, with a clean cloth, we wipe away all the grime we have loosened, and that's it. For the plastics on the sides, we do exactly the same. We apply degreaser, use a brush to thoroughly remove all the dirt from the texture, and then wipe it down with a clean cloth. And then we can mount it on the bike. To restore the tone of these plastics, we take the dashboard restorer and give it a coat. Before mounting the seat of the bike, if you remember, we took out the tool bag, and as you can see, it is a bit worn and the tools fall through the holes. So, since I had a bit of carbon fiber imitation polystone, which is special for bike seats because it is waterproof, we are going to make a new cover for it. It's as easy as taking the pieces of the same size out of the bag. The only thing I didn't have on hand in the workshop was any Velcro or any clasp to make the closure. So I thought of making a small buckle to close the bag there, so that it wouldn't open and the tool wouldn't fall out. Once we have all the pieces cut, we just need to sew them together. For the buckle part, we make a couple of stitches so that it doesn't hold, and for the bag part, we will need to sew it inside out and then turn it around so that the seams are on the inside. This is something very simple. The truth is that there is not much mystery in making a bag of this type, as if your measurements are slightly off. It won't matter because it won't be noticeable. And that's it. Once we have it done, we try to fit the tool and see if it fits on the bike and if it looks good. Now it's time for the bike's windshield. These are sold on AliExpress for a few bucks, and the truth is that it's not worth spending time on this, but since we want to give the bike a facelift, without having to invest money, we are going to make it a bit more transparent and slightly misalign it to make it look more interesting. As you can see, it is a bit cracked, and there's nothing we can do about that, but we can clean the varnish a bit and remove all the yellow parts to make it more transparent. This is similar to when we polish a headlight since they are made of the same material, so we need to take the sander with some sandpaper, first clean the varnish, and then start lowering the grit of the sandpaper until it is as smooth as possible, to be able to polish it. Well, in this case, we are not going to use polish, we are going to use the famous liquid polymer as it will be more convenient for me. Since the fairing is disassembled, using the polisher will be complicated and using the teapot will be easier. Since the inside of the fairing was also a bit scratched, I used some wet sandpaper to clean up that scratch a bit, so we first used the teapot on the inside. And once we have the inside part transparent, we apply it to the outside, and this way we can see the whole process and check if there are any scratches or areas that we need to touch up or apply a bit more depth with the kettle. For those who don't understand how this works, it's an acid that goes inside the kettle is heated, and then the steam melts the plastic. If we have it well sanded and properly prepared, it does its job. If we make a mistake in the sanding and it remains too rough, it won't work. As you can see, we have removed the yellow part from the dome and it looks more transparent, but as you can see, it is a bit damaged because it is cracked in several places and it is also very weathered. No matter how much we want to remove it or polish it, we can't get rid of it. But well, it looks more interesting, which is what we were looking for. We take advantage of having the polymer, and we are also going to work on the turn signals. Here we don't complicate things with sanding or anything. we simply take the cloth, apply the hot acid, and give it a quick pass to restore some transparency to the turn signals and make them look a little newer. The handlebar ends, as you can see, are really chipped. They look very ugly because, to be honest, they make the bike look worse. What we are going to do with them is sand and clean them, leaving them in a metal color. On the same screw that secures the handlebars, we place a nut to keep the screw fixed, and we are going to attach it to the drill. And we are going to use this as a lathe. We will turn on the drill, and with sandpaper, we will start cleaning the entire stop until we polish it completely and leave it a metal color, but very clean, without any paint, rust, pitting, or anything. Ideally, it should be painted because in the end, it will get oxidized again or become stained. But well, this is something quick, it works. And if we want to paint them, we just need to sand them a bit, apply an anti-rust primer and paint them the color we want. The screws, as they were, also looked a bit ugly from having been disassembled a couple of times. We put them in the drill in exactly the same way, turn on the drill, and use a file to wear down all the ugly parts and clean them. And we polished them a bit and made them new again to place them back on the stops, and then we mounted them on the handlebars. The mirrors had quite a bit of rust on the support part, and the plastic was very worn out. To be honest, they looked really ugly. It's not really worth complicating things with them, since for about 40 or 50 euros you can buy some decent mirrors and avoid the hassle. The first thing we are going to do is sand the rusty area a bit because the paint was very flaky, and then to finish removing that rust and leave it as clean as possible, we are going to apply a little strong water. With the strong water using a brush, we will need to apply it to the rust so that it takes effect and eats away at it. We also put the nuts in to clean them well. Once we have cleaned the rust, we take out the piece and apply a degreaser to remove any remaining strong water. With strong water, we have a problem. If we don't clean the piece well, it will oxidize again, since what removes the rust also causes new rust to form. So, to neutralize the effect of the strong water, we apply the same rust converter, and this way we neutralize that effect and prevent it from rusting again. To remove the scratches on the plastic, we take some sandpaper and smooth out all those areas, and then we use heat to restore the color, and that's it. Next, to paint the arm part, we take masking tape, cover all the areas we don't want to paint, and apply a plastic textured paint that better conceals imperfections because it is thicker paint. Since it leaves a slightly rough finish, it helps to hide the flaws a bit more. Once the paint is dry, we can reassemble it on the motorcycle. Although the paint on the motorcycle is very damaged, to give it a bit more shine, we will do a quick waxing with carnauba wax. We apply a little wax to the applicator and spread it over all the painted parts of the motorcycle. We need to spread it well and with a clean cloth finish polishing the carnauba wax and remove it. And with this, although it may seem trivial, it gives a slight shine and helps restore some of the paint's tone on the motorcycle, as well as providing a bit of extra protection in case it rains or water falls on the motorcycle, giving it a repellent effect. Every time we clean the motorcycle with high pressure water, we have to re-grease the chain, as we likely remove the grease it had and leave it dry. Here, with a small piece of cardboard, we carefully avoid greasing the entire motorcycle like some people do, and that's it. And now, to finish cleaning the motorcycle, we take the tire shine and apply a bit to the edge of the motorcycle wheel to make the tires look new, and that's it. I am going to show you the before and after of the motorcycle so you can see the change we have made, and I will show you everything we have for this bike, the transformation we are going to do, and the project that is on the way.
Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Got a buildup of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way.